No, I can't stop. I can't stop watching the fucking. I was just about to say. Do you know the dude I showed you who did the rap reviews? Did you
Yeah,
see that?
yeah.
He was finish that. He keeps fucking yelling that. I was about to start the video out by doing that. Finish that, man. Finish that. But I didn't do it. We're not gonna do it. Sorry. Mike, what the fuck? I was just like huffing and puffing to get a big breath.
I'm leaving this whole thing in the video if I edit this.
Okay. What's cracking, big dogs? Welcome back to Bunkbed Breakdowns. Welcome back to Bunkbed Breakdowns with me. I'm back. I'm Bike. That's Michael. That is Noah. I'm Nicholas. This is BDGE's own Dynasty show. I have commandeered it. Noah is on vacation. I told him to take the week off, and behind the scenes, you know, had he actually accepted that deal, he would not be coming back to the company with a job. So he passed the test. He is here with us tonight. He is on vacation. So the man is committed. The man is working hard. Mike is committed. He's shooting out fucking big dogs, Dynasty ADP with all of our paid startup leagues. So today, what we're going to be doing is diving into that ADP. And we're going to be going round by round. What Mike did was something really cool. He made these charts basically looking position by position, how many players are getting drafted at each position in each round. So we're going to be looking at, you know, if there are 9 running backs in round 1 going, that means there's value at other positions, either in that round or the next round or whatever. So we're going to dive a little bit into the analytics and talk about players that we would be targeting round by round based on what we're seeing in the ADPs. Fellers, how we doing?
Doing
Finish
great.
that, man. Finish that.
On shoddy Wi-Fi, so if I pause for about 15 seconds, you know why. But as Nick said, big dogs got to eat. I can't take a week off because if I do, it's a slippery slope, and then I'll be out of here real quick.
Yeah, you get fired when you're on here twice a week, let alone
I know. Imagine when I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm doing good too, man. It's actually my girlfriend's birthday tonight, so I'm about to be single after this video.
Oh yeah,
so,
look at all the commitment going around right now.
So hopefully we get this pumped out, and then I move on to that. But we're here to bring you big facts only, all day, every week. Noah's grinding, putting together the ADP data. I will be grinding like a monkey, putting it into Excel to produce the beautiful page that you see on our BDG page. We'll be shitting on mock drafts continuously to get people big mad while we talk about our ADP as well. So you can count on that. And let's break it down, boys.
Yeah. Before we get into the intro real quick, the ADP data is up on the draft guide right now, is literally live today. It's July 1st as you're watching this. So the season-long draft guide went live. The Dynasty ADP is in the draft guide. So bigdogsdraftguide.com. I also will personally be going live later today on YouTube around 12:30, 1 p.m. Eastern time to kick off a little draft guide launch party, as well as fucking drink some more tequila in about 12 hours. This is beautiful tequila. I'm in a good mood. So Noah, hit the fucking intro. Make sure you are subscribed. If you're watching on my channel, Nick Ercolano's channel, make sure you're over on Bunkbed Breakdowns.
Nick kind of brushed on it briefly, but we kind of just went round by round BDG ADP to look at where they were heavy RB, where they were heavy QB. And the reason why is because you can kind of look at these trends, and instead of wasting your time on mock drafts, you can just look at these tables and see like really quickly how you can avoid those runs and get ahead of the runs and capture the value. So we're just going to go here, and we'll show you the graphic on the screen as well, but I'll just read it out for our podcast listeners out there. In round 1, BDG ADP, we got some smart-ass big dogs because all we got is 4 QBs, 7 running backs, and 1 wide receiver selected. It's obviously Michael Thomas. So you can see, I mean, it is running back heavy. Robust running back is definitely the flavor of the month, and it's just so interesting to see how that pivoted because, a bunch of these like longevity sheep kept telling you to draft wide receivers because they last longer, but in the reality, like people realize that they actually want to win leagues. And how do you win leagues? You get running backs. So you're seeing a lot of running backs go early. And I think, for me, I usually hate reacting to runs, but I think there's enough running backs and quarterbacks going in the first round for you to make a good play to still go one of them while fading wide receiver, because if everyone is going running back, there's going to be wide receiver value available later. So to break it down, I think, you're going to have the top 4 of the top 5 QBs go in the first round. Right, so that's going to be your Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, and I think Dak
Justin Herbert.
Prescott.
Okay.
Yeah, Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott. So for me, I think I'm usually targeting running backs here. If you're in the top 4, you better be targeting like CMC and Saquon Barkley, Mahomes, or Lamar Jackson. There's really not much to say there. But after that, you're looking at guys like Zeke, Kamara. You got, Dalvin Cook as well if you're a little bit more risky. But I think those are really the targets you're going for. If you're going for a wide receiver that early or even a tight end that early, you're probably going to be losing out.
It's crazy to me that like 8 months ago, people were taking D-Hop, Juju Smith-Schuster, Devontae Adams, like all inside the top 5. And now you can get Devontae Adams in like the 3rd round, which even then that's like a huge value. As Mike said, it's not great to react to runs, but when you have all those elite guys that have a longer shelf life, quote unquote, like a CMC, like a Saquon Barkley, even like a Dalvin Cook who's looking for a new deal, you kind of have to react to a run at that point because there aren't really many, at least my opinion, there aren't many running backs that I would select in the first 3 rounds or outside the first 3 rounds that I'd really feel comfortable being my RB1.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to react to the runs, but the market is kind of setting itself. You kind of have no, it's because you can't take the value at other positions and flip it for equal value at the running back position. It's not like you could take an elite wide receiver and flip them for an elite running back. So the market is so heavy on running backs that like if you miss out on it, you're going to be sent back like double as much as you normally would be. So you have to hit the running backs early, which gives you good opportunity in the 2nd round. And I think in the 3rd round too, because these proven running backs are the ones getting taken early. And I think that's where you kind of get a gap for the rookie running backs in a sense, depending on how early you really want to dive into. But these group of pass catchers that are the elite versions of the guys going in the 1st round, but as wide receivers are now available to you in the mid to late 2nd round. So the guys like Tyreek Hill, you can get at, what's he at right now? The 18 or 19 spot or something like that in our ADP?
Around there, yeah.
He is currently going at 19.
Yeah, so Hill is like basically the Alvin Kamara version of the wide receiver position that you're getting at the late 2nd round. And I understand that like this ADP is definitely heavily influenced by how people are looking at, obviously, you can only look 1 year into the future when it comes to Dynasty realistically, like how you plan for players for the most part. And a lot of the analysis that's redraft focused will filter into Dynasty leagues. And that's what we're seeing. That's why we're seeing so many running backs go early on. But at the end of the day, like these guys are going to show up year in and year out. The Tyreek Hills are going to be there. And I love the fact you can get a guy like Chris Godwin, who's 23 years old, who's going to be an elite wide receiver for a long time. And you're getting him around later than where you're having to take these running backs. So it seems like you kind of have to go with the market running back early. 2nd round, though, you're getting a lot of really good value at the wide receiver because the elite prospects are getting faded.
Yeah, for sure. So just to touch on that 2nd round real quick, we got 2 quarterbacks going in the 2nd round. So that really rounds out what I call the elite 6 of quarterbacks, which is the Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, and Russ Wilson. So that's rounds out the top 6. And then you got another 5 running backs going. And then 4 wide receivers. So that's kind of that elite tier, rounding out the elite tier 1 of the wide receivers. So I think in the 2nd round, what I'm looking for is if you're picking at the early part of the 2nd round, that's where you can get a guy like Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, and one of the tier 1 rookie running backs. That's like Jonathan Taylor or CH. And if J.K. Dobbins is in there for you, that's fine too. He's not in there for me yet, but basically the elite round, the elite round of like the young running back. So that's like a good target. So that's like the only place where I think you can really realistically open running back for good value. But but if you're picking early on, you went like CMC, and now you're coming back around to the second part of it. I would not recommend going running back there because that's kind of where you're reaching into that like that next tier of rookie or like a slightly older, like less more risky, like older running back like Derrick Henry or something like that. So that's where like what Nick said really plays in. That's where you can get guys like Hill, Godwin, Adams. Like I know I said to fade wide receiver in the Bible, but when value is falling that far, you just can't really ignore it anymore. And then obviously in tight end premium, Nick actually got open with the CMC. Was it Saquon? No, the Barkley
Kittle. Yeah, Saquon Kittle.
Yeah, exactly. So that's also another beautiful option because normally I would say Kittle's a 1st round value, but given after studying all this ADP data, I would say that Kittle has to go in the 2nd round. But if you're getting him in the late 2nd, that is straight cash, homie.
Because no one wants to be the guy who takes the tight end first. No one wants to be that guy, and especially if you're playing in tight end premium, we have both tight end premium and non-tight end premium ADP available in the guide. But both of them, I think Kittle ends up being a value because he's just so far ahead of the pack when it comes to dynasty value. Like, yes, for redraft for 1 year, we're going to see there's not going to be a gap between Kittle and Kelsey, what the production is this year. But I mean, you're getting Kittle for 4 or 5 extra years on top of whatever Kelsey is giving you. So in tight end premium, he's putting up wide receiver 1 to 2, possibly 3 numbers for the next 5 years, and you're getting that at the end of the second round. So you're getting like Michael Thomas production-esque a round and a half later.
Yeah, and this whole video is based around our tight end premium ADP, and we'll get into it later. But in the 7th round, you can get a guy like Zach Ertz, who I know Dallas Goedert is there, but when's the last time he hasn't been a top 5 tight end? Somebody's gonna fact check me. He was like tight end 6 last year, but
2020.
2020.
He's about
Either way, at that point, you're getting so much value. But Mike hit the nail on the head. It's great to start RB, but if you are at the back half of the turn in the 2nd round, it's obviously not ideal to reach on a guy like Austin Eckler there, where in the 3rd round, you could obviously get a J.K. Dobbins or DeAndre Swift. So if the value falls like a Devonta Adams, like a Tyreek Hill, who I don't personally value too much below Michael Thomas, and you can get them a full round later just because MT is MT, that's definitely a huge steal.
I want to touch on something real quick. You mentioned like not being too worried about going back-to-back running backs. Like that will be a point of emphasis this year. Again, going back to redraft, like don't confuse the 2 league types. Redraft, you're going to need 2 early running backs because the value dips off. But in Dynasty, everyone drafts so different that you can fill your RB2 production for 1 year with someone that you drafted in the 8th or 9th round. So don't be so hung up on reaching for getting your RB2 because you feel like you have to do that for redraft. Not the same for Dynasty, because even guys we don't like David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell, like you could literally have them in the 9th or 10th round of Dynasty drafts. So you can get these values at wide receiver early in Dynasty drafts and still get production at running back later, while getting like a DeAndre Swift in the 4th round, getting a Le'Veon Bell in the 9th or 10th round, and fill out your running back group fine, because you will be able to put together the pieces in the future.
As you look at the chart that I'm about to put up on the screen, literally half of the picks through the first 3 rounds are running backs. 18 of 36 picks are running backs. And that's not to say that there will be none going forward. Like Nick said, you can get Le'Veon Bell's late, David Johnson's late, who we hate, but still they're going to give you production year 1. I would just say if you leave rounds 1 through 3 without a running back, the chances of you being either competitive now or competitive in the future, or both competitive now and in the future, isn't really there, because those guys like Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson aren't going to give you much 1 to 2 years down the road.
Mm-hmm.
And investing in like running backs, one in the 3rd and 4th round this year, aren't going to maybe give you much this year, but they might give it to you in the future. So if you are planning on being a win now team with longevity, you kind of have to pick a running back within these first 3 rounds.
Yeah, exactly. And just to break down the 3rd round real quick, we got 2 quarterbacks, another 6 running backs, this is why I said like this is where you're reaching. A lot of people are reaching in these rounds for running backs. And just to give you some names that are going off the board here in round 3, we got guys like Austin Eckler, we got J.K. Dobbins, who's fine, but like you got DeAndre Swift, you got Aaron Jones, Kenyon Drake, guys who have lots of question marks, right? Even Cam Akers, who we love, but basically a lot of question marks for those guys. And in their place, you could be taking a guy like DJ Moore, who in my eyes has no question marks. Juju Smith-Schuster and A.J. Brown, who are like young wide receivers to build around. But also more importantly, you'll see if you look at it in combination with the next round, this is where the QB run really starts. So in the 4th round, you have 4 quarterbacks go, 1 running back, 6 wide receivers, and 1 tight end. So, one recommendation that I'm making here and one that I've been implementing throughout the offseason is I've been taking that beginning of the tier 2 of quarterbacks, which in my eyes is Carson Wentz, in the 3rd round. So then basically you grab your quarterback and then you can kind of take advantage a little bit of the value that falls to you in the next couple of rounds from the wide receiver position. I don't know what you guys think about that, though.
Let me ask you, like, if for the most part, I think a lot of leagues are going to play out where the quarterback run starts in the 4th round. We'll see some leagues where like the Joe Burrow and whatnot goes in the 3rd. But let's assume the quarterbacks start going off the board in the 4th, but you're not picking to like the 408 or 409. Are you going to use your 3rd round pick on a quarterback? Like, would you use it on Carson Wentz, knowing that you're not going to get him on the way back at the 409, 410?
Yeah, like that's why I picked Carson Wentz, because his ADP is actually like in the beginning of the 4th. But I feel like, usually third to 4th to 5th round is where like heavy QB runs really start.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kick it off. Like you can just go ahead, pick Carson Wentz. That gets like the next guy to think about it. And then when you have the 4th round value, your 4th round pick might actually become like a mid 4th or an early 4th, because a lot of guys in that middle section are going to start reaching on the quarterback. Like my philosophy is you either like kick off a run or you like try and pick up the tail end of the run. You don't want to be like in the middle, because then you miss out on the value anyways. So that's kind of how I think about it with Carson Wentz there. I just
once
think
a guy like Carson Wentz goes off the board, people just start targeting the quarterback position very heavily, and a wide receiver that you were going to take in that position in the 3rd round probably won't fall to you in the 4th. But I've seen it happen where Mike Evans or even like a Mark Andrews in a tight end premium falls to in the fourth round just because people are taking Jared Goff at the turn of the fourth round, Daniel Jones there. People are taking like Sam Darnold end of the fourth just because they're so nervous that through the next 2 rounds, they're not going to be able to pick up a quarterback.
I'll be having fucking nightmares about our big dogs startup draft that we had like last month and the quarterback run that we had of like 10 in a row leading up to my pick. I'm in another dynasty startup right now. It's Pros vs. Joes on FFBC, and it's our normal settings except it's full PPR, but tight end gets premium, and we have plenty. I was at the 1004, and there were still guys like Jameis Winston and like some quarterbacks, you know, that you'd want to have in dynasty still. So I think it's going to be very different draft to draft. But yeah, I'm totally okay starting the quarterback run if need be. I do think that. Do you think that if you're in a full PPR league, that it brings down the value of quarterbacks in Superflex? I think a full PPR with the 1.5 tight end premium does, because the dip off from whoever you have as quarterback two to that next flex play, especially if you wrap up 2 good tight ends, you have one as a starter, one as a super flex, the scoring is not going to be that far off, I don't think. I think
what's the difference between like a Sam Darnold in like the 5th and a Robert Woods in the 8th points
like,
per game? I don't know offhand, but it's probably premium, like 1 or 2 a game.
If it's 1.5, I'm thinking about the league that I'm in, right? It's 4-point passing touchdown, super flex, right? So you're like, oh, quarterback, so good, dude. But if it's full PPR, tight ends get 1.5, a 5 for 45 line is like fucking 12 points. You know what I mean? And that's like the equivalent of 200 passing yards and a touchdown and 20. It's just like, I don't know. I don't know. I was just thinking about it.
Here's what I'll say about that. I think
say it, Mike.
Tight end, like if you look at it on a season totals basis, I agree with you. But the problem is, like, if you're not playing best ball, and you're playing like in season, you have to make like lineup decisions, and playing quarterback matchups is by far the easiest thing to do. Like, it's why in redraft, like I don't even draft quarterbacks. It's like every time I've streamed so far, I've streamed like a top 8 quarterback, like just like straight off the waiver wire. So I think in a super flex, if you have like 2 or 3 Q quarterbacks, you can probably stream that position a little bit easier. So on a totals basis, yes, I agree. But on a week-to-week basis, in terms of stability of the point scoring, tight ends is still like hella variable. So
yeah,
that's why you draft Hunter Henry, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, because you know not to play him ever. You don't have to worry about it. All right, let's move to where are we at, round 5?
No, we're at round 4. So I just want to touch on this real quick. But right now, Mark Andrews' ADP and tight end premium is round 4.
He might be the best value in the entire draft.
I got to say, I'm fucking disappointed in Big Dog's community that you guys let him fall this far, because this is ridiculous. I think Mark Andrews should go in the second round.
We don't have the updated ADP yet, though. Once we're getting the updated ADP in like a week or so of when July kicks off for the month of June. So all the ADP we have now is from all the drafts in May. We'll have way more drafts, a bigger sample size for the month of June. And if Mark Andrews ain't up into the 3rd round, we're going to have fucking problems, man.
Yeah.
Mike's coming for you.
Yeah, I'm definitely coming for you. And then also Mike Evans, elite wide receiver. If he falls to the 4th, there's not much really to think about. You just take him because he's going to be a stud, going with the opposite Chris Godwin with Tom Brady. And, yeah, I think that's it for the 4th round. That was a pretty simple one. And then 5th round, we got 4 quarterbacks going, 2 more running backs. You kind of see the running back position thin out here because people don't want to touch the old dudes. And then you got 6 wide receivers. So, again, just another back-to-back round of 50% wide receivers drafted. And in here, in the 5th round, we talked about this before in the last episode, me and Noah, Allen Robinson is just an auto pick for me at this point. So it is absolutely ridiculous that he's fallen this far. And then I would target other young upside wide receivers. And the reason why I say young upside wide receivers who may not produce for you right away is because you'll see later on, you'll get some of the value production for you. So like you kind of pair up that youth in this 5th round here with value in the later round. So you can get guys like Ridley, DJ Chark, DK Metcalf, Sutton, like whatever your flavor of the month is, like there's tons of young talent here for you to pick from. But you got to get A-Rob. So if A-Rob's there, just fucking draft him. It's really that easy.
Calvin Ridley might be older than Allen Robinson. But whatever. And as Mike was saying, if you look at the chart again, there are 18 wide receivers from rounds 4 through 6. Again, half of the picks, and 29 of the 36 picks over the span are either wide receivers or quarterbacks. So if you think you're going to make it out of any of these rounds, passing up on quarterback, if you have 0 quarterbacks after the 6th round, I'm like praying the rosary for you, because you're going to end up with like a Drew Brees, Tom Brady duo, which in 2 years you're going to be left with nothing. And although wide receivers are more plentiful, if you don't have a wide receiver 1 after the 6th round, you're kind of looking for like an Adam Thielen who's going to give you 1 to 2 years. I do like a Robert Woods, but like these guys with less longevity, as opposed to a guy in the 4th, 5th, or 6th, like a Calvin Ridley, like a DJ Chark, like a DK Metcalf, who probably have as safe of floors as those guys, but also more time to produce.
Yeah, it's literally just like flipped. If you look at the wide receivers, rounds 4, 5, 6, there's 6 of them each. With running backs, rounds 1, 2, 3 was 7, 5, 6. So the same number going off running back wise, flipped with the wide receivers. And yeah, like you said, I mean, the importance of getting those young wide receivers in in those rounds, and it's not a great idea to try to wait and say, oh, I'll restock on youth later, or I'll fill up that production. Like as we were saying with the running backs, it's not a great idea to do that with the wide receivers because their longevity is really, really long, and you're able to get some of these guys who are like Chark is 23 years old. Like some of these guys are very, very, very young. They're going to be in the league for like the next 8 years. So to forego them and just say like, oh, I'll get Adam Thielen who's like 31 years old or 30 years old or whatever, production will be there, but you're also missing out on 7 or 8 years. Whereas the running back's lifespan is not anywhere near that long. So you're not taking that, those years into account when you do it on the flip side.
And it keeps you flexible so you can take a Thielen later or a Woods later or a Devontae Parker later, because if you build around a Ridley, Chark, and DK Metcalf around this range, you have the young guys that can produce and continue to grow throughout their career, or even like a Justin Jefferson, and pair that with a Thielen. So when he starts to decline, it's kind of a changing of the guard where you bring in the rookie once they start to hit their stride.
It's exactly what I did. The league I was just talking about, the pros versus shows, I had Godwin, my 2nd round pick. I ended up going Terry at the 5'10", DJ Chark at the 6'2", Hollywood Brown at the 8 maybe, and then Thielen in like the 9th or 10th. And I was excited about that as like a full PPR. I was like, Thielen is going to be really good for the next year or two. So that was great because one of those young wide receivers will probably bust, if not multiple of them, or take long to get, hit that stride where I hopefully need them to be one day. But Thielen will kind of cover the gap for now. So that's what I like to do. Those rounds 5, 6, 7, 8 is just like so much upside, so much youth, and so much talent at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, you'll see. We'll save you the wait. Nicky chose Terry McLaurin. I would just trade him sooner rather than later.
No, wait for peak value after he wins fucking MVP this year.
Yeah, you'll see how it rounds out. But like when you pick, because like early on we say you could take like a Hill, Godwin, or even like a DJ Moore in the 3rd round or whatever. You'll see how it rounds out because when you pick Ridley or Chark or DK here, you don't need them to be your wide receiver 2. They'll actually end up being your wide receiver 3 this year, and then hopefully ascend to that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 position over the next 2 to 3 years. But the next round here in round 6, this is where I would say basically you're kind of wrapping up the tail end of the quarterbacks.
You're just picking Terry McLaurin here, and
good quarterbacks. So 3 quarterbacks are going, three running backs are going, another 6 wide receivers, 0 tight ends selected. So I think this is where I call it like the value QB2s. So you got like Tannehill, Stafford, and Kirk, who are probably 3 of my most targeted quarterbacks. And I think that's a beautiful position to be in. We're a QB2 position. If you've taken someone like a Carson Wentz in the 3rd round, or even like a Goff or Baker or someone in the 3rd round, like to have these guys as your QB2 is pretty comfortable. And then as Nick said, you could also go with someone like Terry McLaurin or Jalen Reagor for that, slightly higher risk play. But I think, if you waited on quarterback and you went for, I believe it's strategy 2 in the guide, this is a perfect spot to pick up your QB2 because you're kind of closing up that QB run. Even though there's 4 more QBs going in the 7th round, I promise you those are not quarterbacks you want to build your dynasty team around. So this is like wrapping up the value quarterback that gives you like at least like a 5-year runway.
I would also say if you don't have your running back 2 to this point, this would be a decent point to try to target them, because this is where like the veterans go, or the guys who kind of have unknown situations. Like Kareem Hunt is going in the 7th, but I think as the hype starts to grow, he might slip into the 6th, or Melvin Gordon or James Conner or Chris Carson. Sure, they might fall to the 7th, but I think if you are looking to win now and you want that second piece at a discount, this is around the point that you want to target them. If you do have them, it's really hard to pass up on a McLaurin or Reagor or even like a Ryan Tannehill here.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's important also, like the guys that you named are much, much more valuable than waiting 1 or 2 more rounds and getting a Le'Veon Bell or a David Johnson. Like we did bring them up and say like they could fill your production, but you don't really ever want to fall to the part where that is actually what your lineup is made out of. So like Chris Carson has tons of upside this year. Melvin Gordon, I think, has a little bit more upside than people realize. And I think he has probably a little bit more longevity in the league than people realize. So I would definitely be looking. 6th round is a good spot to look for like the Kareem Hunts as well, who has youth and could be good for a long time. So it might be worth paying an extra round up to get like a better tiered running back as opposed to the veterans who will be out of the league in a year.
Yeah, exactly. I put Kareem Hunt in the 7th because that's where he's going. But if you want to grab for him in the 6th, that's totally cool.
You went at the
Or if you're animal and you want to take him in the third, go right ahead.
You went at the 505, I think, in the Pros vs. Shows league I'm in. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, in the BBB
I don't even think that's a bad
league,
spot. Next year, he's going to be like picked inside the top 4 or 5 rounds if he's a starting running back.
Yeah. In the BBB listener league, Noah and I would have taken Kareem Hunt, but I think we traded back and got some future assets. But he went in the 7th round there. But if you do choose to go Kareem Hunt in the 6th round over these quarterbacks or wide receivers, this is where you can plug in another like wide receiver one for this year. This is where Adam Thielen is going. So I think he's a great value in the 7th round, and this is where like Dynasty comes into play, right? Because you would not get Adam Thielen in the 7th round of a redraft league, but you can get him here in the 7th round. And he's probably still good for another 2 to 3 years. Or if you've built out veterans earlier on, you could also grab a Justin Jefferson, who's kind of like the future of the Minnesota Vikings. So that's kind of where I see the value there. It's just like really those 3 players. I actually think this is like it's a very dead zone in terms of ADP of like guys I'm just like not that interested in touching, to be honest with you.
I love when you get here and like the group chat I'm in for that league. I like don't really know most of the guys in it, but they're all like, oh, I'm about to make such a reach pick. Like it's not that far off from like DLF ADP. I'm like, dude, you guys are the fucking worst. Just like ADP for Dynasty for leagues like that is just so like everybody by the 7th or 8th round has such different strategies and their team structure is so fucking different. The ADP does not matter. Like go and get your guy. Like if you want to start going for rookies in the 7th or 8th round, go do it. It doesn't matter that fucking the ADP tells them that they're in the 10th or 11th round.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing I want to say, it's kind of off topic, but Nick, I was looking at the redraft ADP this past weekend when I was doing the thing for the guide, and it's crazy to me the disparity. Like I haven't looked at redraft ADP in so long, and seeing Thielen as like a top 12 guy, and then in Dynasty seeing him like around wide receiver 30 to 35,
grabbing him everywhere.
Dynasty higher up because he's going to be in that top 12 range for the next 2 years.
That's why I know. That's why I'm like, dude, he's like, I got him legit. He was my 10-4 pick in the fucking Dynasty league I'm in right now. It's full PPR. I'm like, it doesn't make fucking any sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a good value there. And then 8th round, like we said, this is where I call the veteran sweet spot for wide receiver. I mean, take your pick. You got Robert Woods, you got Devontae Parker, you got Tyler Lockett, you even got young guys like Christian Kirk. There's just so much value at wide receiver here. So I mean, hopefully by this point, you're no longer drafting for need at quarterback and running back. So you've kind of already addressed that with your earlier picks. You can just really enjoy the value that follows here. I mean, it's a beautiful spot, man. Like I love the 8th round right now, even more so than the 7th.
Let me ask you something. When it comes to typically rookie wide receivers, like when do you look at them differently in a startup draft depending on what you're, because normally you're not taking a rookie wide receiver before like the 6th round. Most of them don't go that high. Do you start to consider them depending on how your team buildup is? Like, because obviously they're not going to contribute year one, and you probably have to reach if you want to get your guy. Some of them fall a little bit later. But like, how do you look at rookie wide receivers? Because I end up, being like, oh, I'll get him next round. And then I always miss out on the rookie wide receivers, and then I'm never disappointed about it. But I will be in like a year or two. So how do you guys look at rookie wide receivers in startups?
Yeah, I mean, I look at it like similar to how we said, like you can get young guys in like the 5th to 6th to 7th round. Like that's usually where I'll try and pick up like a Rager or like a Jefferson or like a CeeDee Lamb, because I know that I can backfill the production in 2020 with guys like Robert Woods, Devontae Parker, Lockett later. And like if those guys like actually do perform, trying to buy them later on is actually pretty tough to do. Yeah, but I don't want to go like too heavy, right? Like I'm not going to take like a Jalen Reagor over like a Calvin Ridley or like someone that's already like a second year who's also young and also proven. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I've left drafts with no rookie wide receivers, and I'm okay with it. I think it's fine too. But if you do want one, you know that you can backfill with some veteran stuff. So I don't think it's a death sentence to kind of reach for a rookie wide receiver in those rounds.
I always have a tough time taking them. Like I always kind of fall into not redraft mindset, because I will still take a young guy that's more proven, like a Cortland Sutton over a Rager. But I find it very hard when you're in that predicament. Even if I have a Rager ahead of a Sutton, which I think they're very close for me in Dynasty in terms of ranks, it's hard for me to pass on a guy who I know will produce for me this year and for the next like 5 to 10 years, and try to go for somebody that might be like a Nelson Aguilar or like a Darrell Green Beckham and do nothing for me. It's just like the unknown. It kind of scares me. I'd be lying if I said it didn't. So I typically fade them for known production. But if it's like a Thielen versus a Justin Jefferson in the 7th round, and I do have a bit of a younger core, I would probably go Thielen there. If I have a bit of an older core, I'd probably go with the Justin Jefferson, just to make sure I have more longevity on my team.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I always have trouble actually like pressing the draft button on the rookie wide receivers. Like I like them all, but I never end up with them actually on my team. But I think I'm going to do that my next pick. I think I'm going fucking Laviska Shenault no matter what.
Let's go.
Let's go,
Might
baby.
throw the video out there right now.
Yeah, I think it's all about like I call it staggering the age cliffs. So like I don't like having a team with like a bunch of 28-year-old wide receivers because like 1 year I'm just gonna get fucked.
Yeah.
So I usually stagger it out. So I have like a good mix of like young, veteran, and stuff. So they kind of like fall off in stages instead of my team just totally falling off a cliff in 1 year. But yeah, I mean it's like if you have a strategy of fading rookie wide receivers, honestly, probably a good one. Like if you're trying to contend now. Because the chances are they bust a lot more. So we're going to cover the 9th round as the last one here. And I think this is where you can pick like an upside tight end. So I listed guys like Higbee, Fant, and Hawk. So depending on your flavor, like what you pick, like if you pick someone earlier on, like a Waller, or you picked a Kittle, I think it's a great pickup to match them with like a
1 second, Mike. I'm pretty sure I saw Darren Waller going in the 8th round of these leagues.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Bruh, fuck that.
Yeah.
I missed him.
Yeah.
I got sniped by one pick on him in this league. I wanted him so bad, and then I ended up settling for Goddard in the 9th.
Yeah. He's going at pick 88. Elite number for any receiver.
Crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the people are really getting held back by the crowded receiver room narrative, which is like just a really bad one because good players going to get targets. So I think Waller's going to eat. I love him. But yeah, I think that rounds out the draft for round 10. We just said pick whoever the fuck you want because honestly, like at this point, there's
whoever the fuck you want. He means Mike Williams because that's who.
Yeah. There's no such thing as reaching in the 10th round unless you're drafting like I don't know, fucking LaMichael P. Ryan or some shit like that. But yeah, other than that, I think this by the time the 9th round rolls around, you'll have a good sense for where your roster is, and if you don't, you probably fucked up and you're probably gonna lose anyway, so you're beyond help. But you should have a good sense of where you are by this.
You want to know who I just took in the? I had two 10th rounds. I took Thielen, and then I needed a running back. I had Miles Sanders, DeAndre Swift, and I needed a third running back. I took Ronald Jones.
Hey, dude, I don't mind.
Dude,
that
I'm starting to really like him this year.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all.
I love him down there in the 10th round. I feel like he's gonna be good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: I would rather take a shot on Ronald Jones in the 10th than take a shot on Keyshawn Vaughn in the 7th.
That's exactly how it went. I was like, there's no shot I would ever fucking even think about doing that. So Ronald Jones
if you're
is
ever on the
younger.
clock and Keyshawn Vaughn and Kareem Hunt are there, please don't take Keyshawn Vaughn because he's currently going ahead of him in this ADP, and that makes zero sense. They're probably the same age too because Keyshawn.
We might have to manually switch that because I'm embarrassed.
Yeah. Dude, I think the next month's ADP when it comes out, I think Vaughn's gonna fall because I think even on Twitter you're starting to see Vaughn's hype die down a little bit because all the rookie hype fever is dying down. And I think that's the right thing. So yeah, please don't reach on Keyshawn Vaughn.
He would be the player that, like, had they been in camp by now, all we needed was like one report of him looking like somewhat good, and his fucking ADP goes through.
Amir Abdullah 2.0.
We're seeing a lot of that. That actually is like a big thing though right now because we're not seeing any of that, and there's usually so much fucking hype by this point that people are buying. Like Keyshawn Vaughn, one good report could put him into the 5th round of fucking startup drafts.
Exactly. No, Keyshawn Vaughn's looking like the next David Johnson. Boom, skyrocket 2 rounds.
Bruce Arians like he's decent. Like everyone's like, oh shit, go buy him.
Bruce Arians like, we're not cutting Keyshawn Vaughn. Like, oh shit, Keyshawn Vaughn.
I hate Twitter so much.
But yeah, look, I think that kind of rounds it out here. We're going to be looking to release, the new month's Big Dogs ADP as soon as I get around to putting that stuff into the digits. I think that's all I want to cover for the startup here, though.
All right, so that's all we got for today. I hope y'all enjoyed that. I hope you guys can hear Animal get. I can't wait to see how this game ends and Animal fucking blows the lead. So if you guys enjoy, make sure you hit the button that looks just like that. It's a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Make sure you're also subscribed to the Bunkbed Breakdown channel because they're putting out exclusive Dynasty content that you're not going to get on my channel over there. Make sure you cop the draft guide, bigdogsdraftguide.com. It is fucking live today. All the rookie Dynasty shit's been live for a minute, but season long goes live today. That's all I got. I don't know. I'm done. Who's done? We're all done, right? We're all done.